What's your take on this big Microsoft and Activision deal? Does it make sense to you?
It does make sense. Emily, hi, it's good to see you, and thanks so much for having me on. When you think about January in the gaming world, it's been quite a month. We started on January 10th with Take-Two announcing that they were buying Zynga for $12.7 billion. That seemed like a fairly significant transaction. A week later, we had Microsoft coming in to buy Activision at, you said, almost $70 billion, $68.7 billion. And then we ended the month with Sony buying Bungie. And we can't forget about Wordle being bought by New York Times. So incredible activity in the gaming industry in this 1 month period of time. So way to kick off the year. When I think about Microsoft buying Activision, it makes a tremendous amount of sense. I mean, they're getting a tremendous asset in the Activision library, in the franchises that Activision has built up. They're also getting an incredibly amount of engaged users. I think today in the earnings report, Activision talked about 370 million monthly active users. And that user base loves those games and loves engaging on a regular basis. So Microsoft is also gaining that user base, which is pretty exciting, and just a talented group of employees as well, is coming over with the acquisition. So there's a lot of good in that company, and you really can see the two combining nicely together.
But what about the cultural issues? I mean, you briefly were part of the Activision family. I'm sure you've been watching the ongoing litigation and sexual harassment concerns. Can Microsoft get that under control? And should Bobby Kotick still be the CEO?
Microsoft has a job to do. And let's remember that this acquisition is expected to take through June of 2023. So there's quite a bit of time to work through those. Now, we know these problems don't end quickly. When I think about my time at King, that's when Gamergate came out. And that's when the big discussion about women in the gaming industry was first brought to light. It's been an issue for a long time, and it needs to be addressed. So it's good to see that it's getting the focus that it needs, and whether it's fixed under Activision during this period, I'm sure it'll have more to go once Microsoft takes it on.
How concerning are the supply chain issues, seeing now Nintendo and Sony, just talking about how difficult these challenges have been to navigate?
The supply chain issues are throughout our economy, aren't they? I mean, it's tremendous how they're impacting everything from the shortage of chips to just the actual ability to get goods where they need to be. We're feeling it in all different industries. They're saying, and I don't want to speak specifically to chips or to the supply chain, but it's going to take a full year for this really to work through the system. So it's really impacting, all of these different companies.
Now, I want to talk a little about some of these other deals that are happening. Bungie, Halo, Destiny. What do you make of all of this consolidation that we're seeing? Is it really good for the industry when the government and really society is scrutinizing the power of big tech?
Yeah, it's a challenging one to think about in that regard. I mean, clearly there will be a lot of regulatory scrutiny around it, but the gaming industry is pretty disparate. I mean, there are a lot of different gaming companies out there. So it's hard to say that one has, greater influence over another. So there has been a lot of consolidation. I do think it makes a lot of sense when you have a franchise or an IP that is really well known and well loved to have lots of different avenues to be distributed of. Those fans want to access those IPs and those franchises in any way they can. So enabling them to have that access is really exciting. When you think about Bungie being bought by Sony, I just think that's such an exciting development, especially, for both companies, but for Bungie, and having Sony have that property has been one of the top PlayStation games for a long time. And so it'll do really well under the Sony name, but also they're ensuring that Bungie will be its own company and be able to operate as it did before, as they were so clear to state. So, I think there's a lot of consolidation. They can leverage a lot of the ways to reach consumers, but hopefully maintain the magic of those independent studios.